overlooking their grassroots, just like it would be the same thing for the Republicans to decry and bemoan the victory that really can be said to be a grassroots victory of a non-establishment candidate winning their nomination. Both parties have the same problem. They both don't respect the grassroots voter. At least the Republicans allowed the grassroots voter to vote and have their vote matter. Democrats didn't even do that here. But now getting back to the point I was going to make about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a two-front war. And we see this, I'm going to tie this into the discussion we were just having about the media picking Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's relationship with the media right now is, it's abysmal. Donald Trump, and I'll get into this with the interview with Dan Gainor, Donald Trump is fighting not only the Democratic machine, but fighting the arm of the Democratic machine that looks to skew results, and that's the media. Donald Trump, in press conferences, has, called out media, particularly individual members of the media. He's, gotten bitterly angry with them over many different points. The latest one being the point about his donations to veterans organizations when he skipped the Fox News debate. It's one of those things, folks, where Donald Trump may be fighting a losing battle, but he might win the war. The more that he points out how the media is hypocritical and biased and skewed and have an agenda, the more people will see that, I think. I think people right now don't trust mainstream media. I mean, if you look at the way stories are reported now, just an example, this whole minor issue, really, with Hillary Clinton and her Armani tweed jacket being reported by the New York Post, but not reported anywhere else. That might be information that some voters would find useful. Others may not. But when the media chooses not to cover something, or they choose to cover something, they are trying to point the electorate in a certain direction. That's what I'm against. Put all the information out there and let me be adult enough to decide for myself exactly what's going on. You know what? We got some time before we play the interview here. Let me get the plugs out of the way real quick while I got everybody listening. Thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines Radio. I'm Gene Baradelli. Russ Gallo is working tonight on the night shift. And while I got you listening, please check us out at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you miss any part of this live broadcast here on Spreaker, you could check us out at any one of our rebroadcast outlets, including WJHC 107.5 FM on the Florida-Georgia line, K98 Talk, High Plains Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, and the Internet's conservative radio network, ICRN. And if you miss us on any one of our rebroadcast outlets, you could check us out on demand anytime you like at iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM, iHeartRadio. Thanks for iHeartRadio for carrying us. And you can also discover us on Google Play Music, Google Play Podcasts, a brand new way to listen to Behind Enemy Lines Radio. And if you miss us at any one of those, check back next week. Come here live. Hang out with us. We got the chat room going, like I said. We'd love to have you, hear your thoughts, and know what you think about what's going on. Because from this point on, folks, we're talking about the main event. We're talking about Hillary versus Trump all the way through to the election. Going to take a quick break right now, but when we come back, we'll have Dan Gainor from Newsbusters and Media Research Center coming on the show to talk about media bias and also how the media treats the whole Trump protester thing. Are they pro-Hillary? Are they anti-Trump? Why does it matter to you as you consume all the news coming in the many 24-hour cycles to come between now and Election Day? Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. I'll be back with Dan Gainor right after these brief words. If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com. Check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli back behind Enemy Lines and joining me on the line right now, as we do just about at the top of every month. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the show from Newsbusters and Media Research Center, Dan Gainor. Dan, it's history this week, pal. It's absolutely historic. We have... Oh, wait. It's not the first woman. It's just Hillary. Never mind.
Well, I won't say that. But, yeah, the instead of being historic, it's more like the media are being hysterical. In part because
absolutely.
They are declaring her a winner before the game's over. And since there's a huge vote tomorrow, what they're in effect doing is skewing the results. They are boosting the candidacy of the candidate that they want, making her look better. Because if you're a voter who is voting against Hillary Clinton in the primaries, why would you vote tomorrow if you hear she won today? You know, guys, why Bernie? Right. You know, that depresses the result. But if you or if you go vote, why not just hop on the she's already won, I guess I'll just vote for the team. So that's problem one, and then problem two is what they don't tell you. Hillary Clinton gave a speech just a couple of days ago, this marvelous speech about income inequality. And she wore an Armani jacket that's worth $12,495. Now, you could take, and I was thinking about this earlier, every item of apparel I own, every item, and you wouldn't come near what that Armani jacket is worth. And it's fair to say that I'm better off than most people. I'm at a stage in my life where I've worked a lot of years. I got a couple of master's degrees, etc. She's got the hypocrisy of this is amazing. Yet ABC, CBS, and NBC, not a mention of it. Kudos to CNBC and New York Post for doing the story. But here is a candidate for the President of the United States wearing a $12,495 item. And if she were, conservative, they'd mention it. Remember the horse? I hear Mitt Romney's horse. Because it was the horse for Ann Romney. Ann Romney has some physical problems, a disability. And so she had a horse to help her with her disability. But because the media wanted to depict the Romneys as rich white folks, well, of course they highlighted this horse. They talked about it a lot because that fit their agenda. But, you don't hear any discussion of Hillary Clinton's daughter's $3 million wedding. You don't hear any discussion. Where is the clip? She's given the income inequality speech. Where is the clip about her saying when they left the White House they were flat broke? And then, all the talk about the Clinton Foundation. This is how the American media fix an election. They don't go into the ballot box. They don't doctor the machines like I'm from Maryland, so like people in Maryland would do. Because, we have a long history of some suspicious elections, but they don't do that. They don't have to. They don't have to put their thumb on the scale. They can just talk endlessly saying how one person is great and one person is awful. They will talk endlessly about Donald Trump and the judge and talk almost nothing about the riots and the protests, the violent protests from the anti-Trumpers. They will talk about the Gadsden flag back when they had Tea Party people, and they'll talk nothing about how the left is marching around carrying a Mexican flag, and I will never forget the one protester carrying the sign saying "Make America Mexico Again." If a Tea Party person carried something like "Make America England Again," they talk about that.
Oh, absolutely right. And by the way, if you're from the state of Maryland and you want to reach out to Dan Gainor, do so at newsbusters.org and mrc.org. Send him your hateful letters if you're from Maryland, not to me. I think you guys in Maryland are great.
I love my state.
I'm joking. Of course.
But I wish we had consistently less corruption. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
In my state, two of my famous governors, Agnew and Mandel, both got prosecuted.
You know what? Catch up to the People's Republic of New York, and then we'll talk, because I think we had 2 or 3 in a row there that had to leave office. But I digress slightly. I want to get back to, you mentioned the protesters with they're not pro-Democrat protesters, really they're anti-Trump rioting protesters.
Scum. Well, they're rioting scum. They
are rioting scum, but they're getting paid for it by somebody. And nobody has reported on that either. How there was an email being circulated for $15 an hour. Go protest Donald Trump, and yet those are characterized as anti-Trump protesters, not pro-Hillary or pro-Bernie.
Yeah, and they
compare the treatment with Trump and Hillary.
When you watch these protests, which are turn into riots, what do they chant? They chant Bernie Sanders' name. They chant Bernie, Bernie. I mean, that every one of the ones I've seen, that happens. When bad things happen at Trump rallies, Trump is calling carpet and said, you must atone for your sins. You must apologize. When bad things happen because of the lefty protesters, they did the same thing. Blame Trump. Not let's blame the left. The left has been rioting for years. And I'm just in recent memory, let's go back to Occupy Wall Street, Ferguson, Hands Up, Don't Shoot, Black Lives Matter, Freddie Gray. The left has burned down, a good chunk of Baltimore, most of Ferguson, vandalized, raped, and attacked police across the country, and you see complaints about, someone got punched at a Trump protest. Oh my gosh, end of the world.
It's been so prevalent in the past month since we talked, going back to the Katie Couric quote unquote documentary and the deceptive editing there. Now moving all the instances that you mentioned, the unfair treatment of Donald Trump as compared to the kit gloves that Hillary is getting, and even now when we talk about trying to get records from the State Department. I saw an article on Newsbusters that giving actual credit to CNN for trying to do that. Are there, how many Jake Tappers are there versus the rest of the herd that will actually try to do their job?
Because remember, it's not just Jake Tapper, and my kudos to him. He's just a good guy, but. That requires the support network. So you can have a guy who I think generally has been a good reporter, but sometimes his stuff doesn't land on air, and that's Chip Reed or Jonathan Karl. You know, those are people who might report stuff, and if you watch, they'll ask the questions in the press room, and then you'll wonder, well, why does that stuff not land on air? Well, that's their network.